Could it be that your scars are your cars to your destiny? Well, the vicissitudes of life can indelibly scar one's life in a very problematic way. It is the proclivities of these scars that are perpetually disadvantaging us in how we interact with life. Apostle Thabiso Mogano has been endowed with a particular grace to navigate us through such. And in his latest offering, a trailblazing book entitled Tattoos Are Still There, he extrapolates swiftly how we can successfully live an extraordinary life even after a horrific experience. It is indeed with certainty that your interaction with this material will not only be therapeutic but also transformational. Tattoos Are Still There is scholarly, psychological, sociological, and biblically sound to impact anyone's life. Through God's grace, Apostle Thabiso Mogano has learned to navigate life's journey and make peace with his own tattoos because clearly God's grace is towering above them. May you have a great life even after this page turner. Tattoos are still there.
Kingdom greetings, friends. This is Thabiso Mogano. I want to take this time and invite you to connect with me every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on our page, Thabiso Mogano Ministries. We have a Facebook live streaming, and we have created a wonderful platform there called Kingdom Drive. It's meant for us to have a dialogue and discuss on issues and matters that are currently affecting the body of Christ. So therefore this platform is to also bring about apostolic teachings that will equip us and better us and prepare us so that post this global pandemic we can avoid certain things and certain errors that are going on in the body of Christ, knowing that we are ready to penetrate the kingdoms of this world, and we also have a sharper agenda to be good and great and powerful kingdom citizens. So therefore I want you to join with me every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Don't miss this. This is an opportunity for us to can discuss these issues and equip each other as iron sharpens another iron. God bless you. See you every Wednesday 7 p.m. Bye-bye.
Here we are, kingdom greetings to everyone. My name is Pastor Selwyn Ngwenya. Welcome to Kingdom Drive. Don't be shocked. You're seeing a different phrase today on Kingdom Drive. I'm simply filling in for Dr. Thabiso Mogano, who is not really feeling well today. So he has asked me to fill in. So for all those who do not know who I am, or this platform, what it does, this is Kingdom Drive. We hold this platform every Wednesday at 7 o'clock on this page, Thabiso Mogano Ministries, and we have created Kingdom Drive to be able to challenge the status quo, anything that impacts our lives, because we believe that we are in a very particular age. We have come to an age of emergence. And therefore, there are things that need to be tackled, things that need to be bulldozed, things that need to be taught, corrected, and aligned so that we create a powerful generation who is able to impact nations and their spheres of influence. I am a product of such a generation under the leadership of my covering, my spiritual father, my mentor, Dr. Thabiso Mogano. And I greet you all. I greet you all. I know that there are people who are tuning in that we have bombarded this occasion and invitation so that you do not miss out. So I'm sending love from Dr. Thabiso Mokhano. He says that he loves you and he can't wait to engage with you. He just needs time to be well, and we wish him well in that regard. I like to thank all the people who have made sure that this particular time is well organized, such as our technical crew, the people who make sure that Kingdom Drive happens every time, the TMM partners, and all those who make sure that this is a one-time moment. Without any further ado, we are in June 16, 45 years later. We have chosen this particular day, which coincides with this pristine moment in time for the South African calendar, June 16, which is known as a prominent youth month. In this youth month, prominent youth day. Well, this is the day that youth took action and they showed how much power they had when they had to challenge the status quo. Today, we are going to be joined by prominent and distinguished guests who are going to review and we are going to analyze what has been the transition, what transformation, what power has youth in this continent had over the past 45 years. So remember that we are in a progressive time where we have seen that we have shifted. In the 80s, there was what was called Generation X. And we have come to another generation, which was called the Y generation. And now we are in Generation Z, which we are going to tackle how trends and culture are affected by this now youth termed Generation Z. Do we understand who they are? What challenges are they faced with? And what opportunities are there? So today, we are going to be joined by Miss Phindile Hlabangane, who comes in as a prominent voice and one who will give specialist, let me put it, specialistic advice on what it means to be youth, what challenges are facing them, and where the youth should be directed to be able to see there are still prominent opportunities to be able to take them further in life. Not only that, we have an influential icon, ProVerb, better known as Tebogo Tekiso, who is now a businessman, a prominent man, a non-executive director for Samro, who is better known as a hip-hop artist who has now grown and developed and being able to achieve so many things in his accolades. And I would like our technician, Mr. Dash, please allow me to introduce our guest speakers so that we can get to see them, and I will give you better their profile and you will know much better why is it important we have them today. Dash, please put our prominent guests on screen right now. Yes, yes, I see ProVerb, my brother. I see Miss Phindile Hlabangane. So let me do it like this, right? I'm gonna start with ladies first, so that you know I set the foundation, and the foundation is strong and it's solid. All right. Over here, we have Phindile Hlabangane, and from reading your profile, I see that you are one of the people that are so suitable to speak at this moment. Why? Because you've got one of the most important things, passion for life. Not only do you bring 10 years of experience as far as influence and being an advisor in the recruitment and development of youth, but you're also a graduate from the University of Cape Town and the Vega School of Brand Leadership. What I've also liked about your profile is that you have interest in leadership, culture, and change, which is the main reason that brings you here. So welcome to Kingdom Drive, Miss Phindile Hlabangane.
No, thank you so much, Selwyn.
All right.
Thank you.
And then I have my brother over here. We've known each other for many, many years. And I pictured this in my mind to intro you, my brother, that picture the ProVerb fireman, sharing the mic with Job's finest, representing the capital city of golden diamonds. This is the brother ProVerb. His proper name or ID name is Tebogo Tekiso. He comes with knowledge from self-improving and him having to tackle difficult times that he had to overcome, dreams that he had placed in his life, and now what he's currently pursuing. He is part of the youth culture and now being in business, in investment, also a property owner, also a non-executive director for Samro, and he comes in as a professional when it comes to the way we want to direct our youth. I welcome you, sir, to Kingdom Drive.
My brother, it is a privilege to reconnect with you always.
Yes.
You know, I've also seen you grow from strength to strength. I knew you first as just Selwyn, my good friend, to Mr. Selwyn, a fellow and an equal and a colleague in the entertainment industry, to now connect with you as Pastor Selwyn. It is indeed a privilege to to always connect with you, my brother, on various capacities. Please allow me as well to say good evening to our fellow guest as well, Sis Phindile. It is a privilege to interact with you. Cannot wait to hear from you as well.
Amen.
Thank you, ProVerb.
That's right. All right, so this is the foundation, right? Over here, I will ask questions. There are some questions that will be directed to you, Miss Hlabangane, but you may find that maybe ProVerb, you've got something that you need to add. Feel free. Another thing is, feel free to be as honest, because we are about to tell the truth, because we are a channel that is supposed to channel, bringing alignment and correction, and also inspire to this now youth generation. So my first question will be directed to you, Ms. Hlabangane. With youth right now, I would like us to tackle, first of all, the current mood. It could come both ways. It could be from the older generation. How do they perceive the current youth? And the youth itself. What is the current mood of youth in this country? When you just analyze it. How is the mood and how is the youth viewing itself? Or how would you say the older generation is viewing the youth of this current culture?
Okay, so before we begin, I think when you call me Ms. Hlabangane, it sounds very formal and
okay.
I know that's who I am, but I've never had somebody call me Ms. Hlabangane so many times. But no, it's fine. It's okay.
How would you like me to refer to you?
Either Phindile or Miss P. I do prefer Miss P, which is fine.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much. And sorry to my family if they're watching me for kind of pushing our surname aside. But just to answer your question, I think it's very important to really understand who the youth is.
Yes.
Especially in South Africa, it's not a homogeneous group. The reality of it. We've got people coming from different generations, as you mentioned. We have what you call your millennials, and we also have got your centennials that are now sitting within what we call the youth. But at the same time, we also have different levels depending on where, what do you call it, in the social spectrum. So in which class, if you want to call it that youth is coming from. So I think how those people perceive and see things differs. So you might find that somebody who's sitting in a little bit more prominent class has got more optimistic views about how things are, the opportunities that they have open to them, as opposed to somebody who's coming from, I don't want to say lower, but if you get where I'm coming from, somebody's coming from a place where there is not a lot of access, there isn't a lot of opportunities, there is no inspiration. How they see things might be completely different. They might just see everything ends here.
Wow.
So you will find a little bit of despondency, in a sense, in some of the groupings within what we term the youth. But I think, I remember growing up, there was always that thing of the youth is the future, young people are the future. But I honestly don't think Yeah, I honestly don't think that where we are right now, perhaps it was different, especially like, I want to say our time, but I still want to be a little bit below 35, you know? But yeah, during our time growing up, I think you really felt a sense of that. You felt a sense of, yes, definitely we are the future. There's all these things happening for us. But I don't think it's the same now. I think it's completely different for these guys. There's a lot of things that are happening and geared up for them, but I don't necessarily think that we take them as seriously as what we should.
Wow.
Especially the older generation. We are always questioning. And I mean, you guys are coming from that generation when YFM was also coming up, you know. And if you remember some of the comments back then about how some of the things that young people were doing back then, people felt like, no, it's inappropriate. We're in the same position again, where we think things are inappropriate. But I think it's always going to gear up and change depending on how the older generation thinks about things in the future. It will then translate to how we see the youth. If we want the youth to just always be like toe the line, you know, they're not necessarily always going to have room for them to grow and kind of consider a different way of being in the world if we're not allowing them that space. But that's just, you know, yeah.
Do you think that is like how you have set the foundation with that premise, that there seems now to be an underlying little hope for how the future looks for the current generation? Because even back then, we had an environment, or let me say an atmosphere that was not quite suitable as far as having to reach higher dimensions in human development. And that's why such a day such as June 16 happened, because there was a conglomerate unity and a unism to be able to fight the status quo, to be able to improve lives. But it seems like 45 years has gone by. Is it because there hasn't been much support between that time and now, as far as peers, as far as mentors, as far as, because when you look at the older generation with June 16 in 1976, they kind of had a backup, you know, to the young people to say, yes, you are challenging a tough system, and we are okay with you having to disrupt this government. And now we are opening opportunity for a new way. That happened. But now we are coming today to question, has there been any progress? Do you think with what you have said, is it because support? Is it because times have changed? We have lost certain things that are supposed to be foundational bricks for them? What could be the problem? Why are we still concerned about the future is not that bright? It kind of looks bleak.
Yeah, well, we live in a very polarized society, if you think about it. Most things are politicized, so you'll find that there's always fractions. There's also, going back to the whole thing around, you know, social mobility. People are sitting in different states in terms of how they are socially. So all of those things, if you think about how apartheid worked, right? So in 1976, people lived in these communities. There was a sense of understanding that we all had the same struggle. You know, it didn't matter whether your dad owned a shop or whatever, but everybody was in the same struggle. And if you recall, the people who were backing up the June 16 uprisings were very deliberate and fully understood. So they had a backup. They had a one central organization or two organizations or something that held all of that together. I don't think we necessarily have that right now with youth. Yes, we've got youth voices, but is everybody speaking the same language? So going back to the thing I mentioned about the fact that there's the more prominent people and there's people who are not so prominent. Their needs are not the same. You know, you've got the politics of the stomach, you've got the politics of access for some, you've got completely different politics for others, some what they call soft life problems for other people, you know. And how do you go into the same fight if you're all wearing different boxing gloves? Somebody's not wearing boxing gloves, another one is. Another one is not even trying to be in the fight. So how do you now move forward with that and say, here's this group? Hence, I started off saying, homogenizing is actually probably a big mistake, because then we are not seeing the issues and the problems and the struggles we're not going to see them. We're not going to see the microcosms, you know, those smaller parts of it. We're just going to take everything, lump it into one and say, okay, youth unemployment is the biggest problem. Is youth unemployment really the biggest problem, or are there other things that are problematic.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Because there's something that you're going to touch on that one. Notably, right, because of now that we establish the current culture is coming from different backgrounds, times have changed, time has moved on, because of demographics not being the same. How would we now interpret this Generation Z? We see that they are gadget crazy individuals. Ms. P has just pointed out that they come with wearing different gloves because there's different politics. How would we interpret life for them right now because of this digital age?
Pastor Self, I think the digital era is their default. Remember, they were born into it, so they know no otherwise. This is a world they were born into. We pioneered it in that it was, pioneered in our era, but they were born into it. So this is the standard for them. I'm also a little bit apprehensive about condemning any sort of generation because, if you remember, we were referred to as the lost generation, right?
Yes.
There has been many strides from our generation. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about, dictating to the generation coming after us to say they are doing it wrong just because they are different from us. I bet you the very same generation who are hailed as the heroes who we celebrate June 16 because of, the generation before them probably thought they were outlandish as well. So that is no trend. So my only argument, my friend, is I don't think because we are different, it should mean one is superior in their thinking than the other. They are just different. So having said that, the Generation Z now are just growing up in a different world where the defaults are absolutely different. They have different resources at their disposal, different sets of challenges than we did, and they're not necessarily better or worse off. It is just different. And our challenge is to find that common ground and that link in between it all.
Exactly. The common ground. I see Miss P. I don't know if she can hear us. She has just cut off over there, but I'm sure that, there she is. She's back.
Here I am.
Thank you for that one, my brother. Because of what you have said, that there was a generation that pioneered something. And our only concern in this platform is that the pioneering part was just, if lack of a better word, I will say, revelation. But somehow that revelation must come law, where we set precedents to say this is the way that we have followed. Because if we come from being a diamond in a rough, but we have been pruned and we came out of that situation, and we see ourselves as people who are responsible for being able to pave the way, because you said something powerful. You said it's not their fault that they are born within this generation. I mean, within this time of information, which brings this question for me. Also, not taking away the good that is happening with them. I mean, I've learned that one thing about them is they are driven, they are educated, they mostly well behaved when it comes to being employed. However, they are not people who take stress, failure, disappointment very well. And it has become a reality for them. So this would be a question for both of you, that is there any hope as far as, leveling the playing fields in their respective ways? Is there hope for them? They are educated, they've got information, highly driven, industrious, but when it comes to, they're highly emotional, they are stressed, that we see that they do not have high hopes about how the future looks. And this is just what statistics show. Ms. P, what would be the way for them to move forward in this regard?
Sure, it's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's a very tough question. I think one of the ways is really to hold people accountable. We have a culture of not holding, our leaders, our communities accountable for what's happening ahead. I was watching something the other day, and it's this young girl. I think she's probably about 18, from Switzerland, who's been traveling around the world, spreading the message around what's this global warming and the environmental impact, and how the world is now at some point this world that the world that they're supposed to inherit. The people who are coming before them, or rather coming behind them, are not necessarily taking care of it the way that they need to. And she says, you keep saying that we are the future, however, you are giving us something that is not great to inherit. And I think the only way that can happen, which is something that she's doing, is she's holding people accountable. She's literally getting out there and saying, hey, this is what you promised me. This is what you're saying about me. If you think about it, in South Africa, those kind of things have started. So one of the things, think about your roads must fall, for instance. Think about your fees must fall, for instance. That was the youth holding everyone accountable. You promised us free education. You promised us all these things. You haven't delivered on them. We want them now. And this is not necessarily a thing that somebody one day woke up and said, it came out of a real frustration. If you hear the stories, people were sleeping in libraries. Imagine coming from wherever you're coming from, and this big dream of yours ends up being you sleeping in a library. Where is this person washing? Think about it. And we're still expecting people to come out of a university with a full degree in record time, because that's what we glorify. We glorify people coming out in record time, but we forget that people are going through struggles like sleeping in a library. So I think one of the steps is a thing of, let's hold each other accountable. Because I don't think there's anything else they can do. They can do everything. ProVerb's already mentioned it. There are so many opportunities. There's so many things that are happening. There's the digital age. They are able to, the whole influencer thing. I'm not even that old, but there's a lot of things that scare me about the digital age. My youngsters are teaching me so much. They're teaching me about these groups that exist on one of these, the communication channels. They're teaching me about that. They're teaching me so many things that, as much as young as I am, I don't even know them, just to show you how quickly these guys are developing. They're making money in ways that we've never thought about making money. People have got like 3 different side jobs that they're doing. But if they don't have a structure which supports who they are, there's only so much that they can do. I think in some forms they are playing their part, but the people who are supposed to actually enable some of these things to actually become a brighter future for them, that's where the disappointment is coming in.
Come on
now.
Accountability counts a lot from those who are going to be the foundation of support. Pro, what do you have to say about being able to be a sign of hope, something that we will be able to give to them? Because clearly they are able to pioneer something. They are able to start something that we have never seen. These days, as Ms. P has put forward, that they are able to even make 3 streams of income while they're at a young age. So what would your take be as far as being able to support that kind of thing, and as far as hope is concerned? Because I think these stress levels, these things that we're seeing, that they have no emotional control or intelligence, seems to be the main factor.
Sure. Pastor Sal, I think it is actually on us to offer the necessary support for our generation to follow. You know what I mean? For as long as we are, taking the narrative that they are doing it wrong because they are different from how we approach things, I think we are already causing a little bit of a conflict there. If there's more intergenerational cooperation, communication between the 2 generations, because our philosophies, our thinkings is different, but there's a middle ground where if we exchange information, Sis P said something interesting just now and said the current generation has no support, and the people who are supposed to be doing it are not doing it. We are the people. If we are not,
we are the people,
and that support, who will be? Do you know what I mean? Just because we may not understand, what the new generation and their way of thinking, doesn't make it wrong. It just means that we need to bring in our wisdom from life experiences, but be open to engaging to their new ways of thinking, and therein we can find solutions.
Amen to that. Look,
May I add
everyone.
I apologize for Kena Mukhanong. I
Yeah.
just wanted to add this as well.
Yes.
I'm an eternal optimist, and many times it's to my detriment. But please allow me to hold on to it. Right?
All right.
I really feel like if our departure point at all times is optimism, is with the hopes of finding solutions as opposed to condemning any kind of wrongdoing, we will have better results. You know,
Yes.
there's many great things that has come from all the generations, one before us, our
Yes.
generation, even
Yes.
Generation C is already pioneering and doing amazing things. Every time I open my laptop or my phone and I'm
Come
reading
on.
about youngsters opening up stores, and there's so many local brands to buy and to support,
Yes.
so many local events, and I'm seeing our stars being interviewed by Oprah and the like and starring in international global shows. I get
Yeah.
filled with a sense of optimism, and I feel like if we spread that energy to even those that are struggling to find their path, we will enjoy better results. Whereas if we continue with the finger pointing strategy,
Come on.
I
Yeah.
don't see that turning anyone into sort of any kind of positive anything. Positive affirmation is brilliant. I'm a father, and I attended inter sports event sometime last year of my son, but
Yeah.
I kept so he wasn't aware that I was watching him, right? But
Yeah.
when I got there and I saw him running, and I started cheering from the sidelines and saying, "Go for it, my boy! Go for it, my boy!" He
Yeah.
actually outran everybody and won. And that for me is a metaphor of how we deal with the next generation. If we
Yes.
continue to affirm, if we continue
Yeah.
to support, if we continue to cheer them on, right? I promise you we will have more positive results.
Wow. You brought something. You know what? I can get a little bit unorthodox here. I can go off script because you are saying something that is provoking me to say, I want, from your perspective,
Sure.
Ms. P, ProVerb, from your perspective, the mindset of our lost generation to the mindset of now. And I don't want to say by generation, but by time, by time allocation. I believe that every 10 years, there is a mindset that creeps up, such as, in hip hop, in our golden era, there was a certain mindset, which was more unity and all that stuff. But there's a different mindset to now. Miss P, to your understanding of the current culture, the current youth, what is the mindset? And because ProVerb has just provoked that we need to point out more positivity and pushing greatness out of them, what is the current mindset of our youth now, to your perspective? Start from there, and then I could be able to ask you other questions.
Okay, so in my line of work, I've worked as a support, but I've also worked on the other side as a person who's employing people. Well, right now I'm working as a person who employs people. Being in the development sector, I saw some very challenging things, and I completely agree with ProVerb, because in the work that I was doing, that's the position that I took. I took the position of almost being a safe space for my students that I was supporting, ensuring that they understood that the future was in their hands, first of all. But secondly, that you can have everything happening in your life, everything negative, all these things. However, if you've got an idea of where you're trying to get to, focus on it. So I was constantly affirming them. A lot of my students are successful right now. I take pride in it because they're still sharing with me. I haven't worked with them probably in the last 7 years, but they share with me when they win. Probably about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, one of them sent me a message to let me know that he's been promoted. But at the same time, I think we should not neglect some of the environments that people are coming from and the influence of environments where people are coming from. You can go in with a positive mentality, but it takes time. It takes effort. There's a lot of things that you need to almost fight against to get people in line. So one of the jobs that I do as well is I coach.
Okay.
So as a coach, your role is basically to help a person be able to overcome, certain self-limiting beliefs, certain assumptions that they make about the world, in order to enable them to find, or well, rather to find a path of growth and then be able to achieve their goals. And in the people that I've been seeing,
Sorry to cut you in. Tell us a little bit more about this coaching, as far as, opportunities that are available. And then we will go back also to things that we see as unemployment. But you've touched on coaching. Can you just elaborate a little bit more? Because we've got youth listening right now, and they probably will take something from that.
Okay. So in development, there's different types of support that a person can get, right? So you'll have somebody like a mentor, for instance, like ProVerb's already mentioned mentors and all these people. So a mentor is someone who, let's say, for instance, I'm a young person, I see ProVerb and I'm like, great, I actually want to be somebody like ProVerb, and I will ask ProVerb to be my mentor. So ProVerb is there to kind of almost help me understand the industry, help me see things in a certain way, help me problem solve based on where I'm trying to get to, using his knowledge and his experience of, as somebody who's walked the journey. Unlike coaching, on the other hand, it's almost like therapy, but not 100%. Coaching is more I believe in you as a person who's got all the resources that you need. We utilize all the tools that you have within yourself, but I also provide you with other tools in order to get, partner with you to get to you achieving your goals. So it's not like therapy, because obviously therapy is about debriefing. We are more progressive. Not to say that therapy is not progressive. There are some, depending on what sort of therapy you're going to, there is a progressive slant to some of the methodologies. But with coaching, it purely is about the goal attainment. So from a young person perspective, one of the key things about coaching is that it helps you change your mindset. I think there's I'm going to paraphrase, but ProVerb mentioned a little bit around having a growth mindset, because that's what optimism is. It's about having a growth mindset. But you need to get through a lot of the stories that you tell yourself in your head, And unfortunately, as especially as Black people, there's a lot of stories that we get told by people that we trust and people that we think are there for us, that unfortunately limit how we see the world and the things that we do. So if you think about how when a child is being naughty and bamomanya, how do you reprimand your child? That's what some people say. And what do you think that's feeding into the child's mind, right? It's feeding something into their mind. It's feeding how they view the world. When they make a mistake, they go, yeah, mara oslaila, that's why Ntwesa sebeza. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of those sort of things that are happening, that you almost have to reprogram people and get them to unlearn certain ways of thinking, certain ways of believing the world is, in order to get to that next level. But it's work that needs to be done, hence why you've got organizations that are there in place to help people out. But now if kids are if some of your youth is now giving up halfway through, you're now working from a group of 100, you're now working with 20. But I think as people who are always in these sectors say, you just work with what you have. You work with the people that are there, the people that are committed, because you cannot pull a mule to the watering hole. It has to go there itself, because you will pull and you pull and that thing will stay where it is, So it's the same thing with this, is that if there are people who are willing to say, I want to change, then you work with those. The ones who fall away, eventually, hopefully, we can only just hope that they will come along. But we need to be continuing this narrative and saying the right things, like what ProVerb has been saying. We need to speak the right language. We need to speak that positivity. We need to watch some of the things that we filter out, because even myself now, all I'm thinking about the country is, oh my goodness, I don't know what our future is. So imagine a young person who's grown up. My friends and I were chatting about it earlier on. You were born in 2000. So for 21 years of your life, this is all you've known. The South Africa that we live in today, this is literally all you've known. Us who were born in the 80s, we are very lucky, because at least we've seen a different and we've seen South Africa transition, but they don't get that benefit. So, we need to almost, as a country, start channeling some of those good messages, start showing some of those positive, positive stories, things that people have done, even in the small ways.
I'm glad that the time is now. We are in 2021, and we term it the age of emergence. So even though there is a question to say, how's the future looking? Like my brother ProVerb has also indicated, the very same people have broken barriers that us in the 80s haven't. The world is now small for them to be able to go overseas, because of technology that we have has made things a little bit easier for them. But they do need coaching, they do need mentorship. You understand? So, Pro, I got a question for you. How do you think we can monitor these energies from these young people so that, you know, we are seen not as enemies, but people who are trying to propel them to the right direction? How do you think we can monitor ourselves as mentors? Because here's a scary thing. Here's someone that you believe in who's playing a role of a mentor, but the minute you make a mistake, they now, with their little knowledge of the current world, they overemphasize this failure. But how do we monitor that the way that they affect trends, these young people, they're able to just progress? Any ideas on that?
Of course. Pastor Self, I am a big believer in healthy interactions. I think the minute you come into any interaction with the assumption that you are the authority or you know more or you are superior, then you've failed and disconnected. But if I come with the intention of imparting the very little I know, but also with the mindset that I'm keen to learn from you both, then I think we'll have a more fruitful engagement. And if you come into, if you're chatting to somebody from the next generation, right, and you say, I am willing to learn from you just as much as I'd like you to open up and learn from me, then it becomes a two-way engagement and we learn from each other. Even in a mentorship, how many times have you engaged with a mentor and you drop some knowledge on them that they didn't have before? That for me is what I think is a healthy engagement. But if you come to the departure that I know I'm the grown-up, I'm the adult, I've had more life experiences, it is my way or the highway, then obviously somebody will not respond positively to that. So I think if we engage a little bit more, if we're open to learn from them, if you listen first and speak second, that's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, then I think we'll have more engagement and we'll have greater results.
Yes. Thank you. That is very powerful. I hope you're listening. I see there's some interactions. They're agreeing with you, Ms. P, that we need to take accountability. Number one. Pro, I see that there are comments that are coming in to say we need more interaction. And that is the only thing that is going to bridge the gap. I think underlying everything, it is just for us to be able to bridge the gap. There is new knowledge because we are humans becoming, and we are forever becoming better. A human has an incredible ability to just improve. It's in their nature. And if we keep on pointing fingers and say moral decay, this and that, and we are boxing ourselves to be mentors in this, I repeat again, we're in an age of emergence. What is emerging? New leadership, a new voice, new approach, new ideas, new ways of conquering. This is now in 2021. So now, Ms. P, I know that you are dealing with issues of employment and opportunities. Here comes a graduate. Here comes two school of thoughts. Those who say there's no employment because I'm a graduate and I do not have whatever the case is. And those who lack in education, and they are both faced with the same thing of unemployment. What do you have to say, and how do we curve this?
Sure. Do you know, it's so interesting because in industry they keep saying that there's a shortage of people in certain sectors. So in certain sectors there's an oversupply, and then others there's an undersupply. So you're finding that people are going to school and studying what they think. Some of them it's what's going to be easier. Some of them it's a matter of what it is that I can afford. So there's almost like a disconnect between what is needed versus what is coming in. But I don't think that's the only reason why, there is such a high unemployment rate. I think there are some structural issues or systemic issues that a lot of graduates have to fight with. I mean, even us as people who've been working for a long time, there are still some systematic issues that we have to deal with. But with them, you know, I think if you're coming from a base of not knowing anything, because remember, going back to the different people coming from different places. So I'll be a graduate who's coming from UCT with somebody else that I've gone to school with. I have a support system. I have a support system that if I have to go for an interview, I can go, you know, speak to an uncle. Hey, by the way, going to an interview, I can get somebody who can help me out, do all these things, help me out with my CV, all of it. Then you have a person who's almost got no support whatsoever. They're first generation graduate. So all they know is all they know. They've got themselves, they've got the information, whatever information that they can access. And remember, you only know what you know. So if you don't know where to look for something, you're not going to go look for it unless it comes to you. So it becomes so complex. And I think I mentioned this to the technical team earlier on that, you know, this unemployment thing, it's got so many layers and it gets very complex. There is no one solution to it. There's a lot of things that need to change just in terms of how we look at industry within South Africa itself. Are some of the things that we are doing in terms of building our economy, do those make sense for the future that we're going towards? What is the future? What's the vision for the country? How do you now start enabling the people in the system to be able to respond to that? And I don't necessarily think that we're 100% always doing it, because if we have a shortage of engineers, why do we have a shortage of engineers? We have so many kids that are sitting elokishini who've got brilliant marks, but they're not getting into universities. They're not getting into training colleges. They're not getting anywhere. So where's the disconnect? You know, that's a question that I keep asking myself. But one of the ways that we've tried to respond to that with some colleagues of mine, we have this chat called Mgqibelo Thetha. It happens every second last Saturday of the month, where we call in experts. We call in experts to come speak on a certain topic. And funny enough, our topic this week is actually what we're talking about today. So we're talking about the barriers. Yeah, we're talking about the barriers to youth accessing education, opportunities, and finance. Because we really also want to understand what is the issue? What is the issue? But the one thing about Ngwenya Thetha is that we also want to hear from the people. So going back to what I mentioned about holding each other accountable, we want people to come in, ask us the hard questions so that we can also sit back and go, actually, we don't know. So how do we now come back and give information so that the things where we can see the gaps, we're able to fill those gaps? But it's an effort. We are trying, and we are working through collaboration as well. So we're trying to bring in as many players as we can to fit into this thing. The last time we had Harambe, that was part of the panel, and we made sure that people can actually hear that, you know, there is this Harambe, join Harambe, you know, get involved. At least it'll give you one little leg up compared to where you are. But it's only through collaboration that we'll be able to do some of this work. But as I mentioned, the unemployment thing, it becomes very complex. But one thing that I do know, I saw something that popped up in my feed last week, is that apparently you are more likely, or you're more likely to get employment if you have some form of a qualification. So if you have a degree, you're more likely to possibly be employed compared to somebody who's got nothing. So it's unfortunate that we've relied so much on an education system rather than other things, you know, because not everybody is good at school. It's not true, but unfortunately, how our education system is built, some people don't make it through that channel. We've got a very high attrition rate from grade 1 to matric. And then once people get into university, the ones who actually even make it in, of your Black and colored community, only 30%.
Oh my goodness.
30%.
Oh my goodness.
Will make it out in record time. And it trickles down as you go. Some people 4 years, some people 5 years, but that number that actually even graduate is so small. But we've put so much emphasis on people going into universities. So what happens to those kids? Out of 5 million children, if only about 2,000, I'm over-exaggerating, obviously. If only about 10,000 out of 5 million that started grade 1 are graduating, where are all those others? Where are they?
That's a big question. I'm going to come back to you. I want people to pause on that question, that the ratio of having to be put through what we say for you to have a high rate of employment, it is because you must be qualified, that you must have some form of qualification, but yet the ratio doesn't make sense. So I would like to pose a question over there. Then when I come back to you, Ms. P, I want you to explain opportunities that are out there. I'm picking up something here. I'm picking up that one, there's a gap where the interaction for those who know better, those who have resources, the kind of leadership that we have that should be able to be a support structure for these brilliant minds that we have right now seems to be on a low. Now, I know my brother personally, and I'd rather, without being too technical, tell your story. Same setup. In the music industry, there's a million of us wanting to break through to this small window of having to make it, but yet few get out to shine. Few get to be able to break out. For example, if I'm not correct, you will tell me. I don't remember you having a summer award. I don't remember certain awards that have come through or things that we glorify. But yet in your career, you had to overcome certain milestones. Now, that must come with a mindset. That must come with a certain type of determination. That is the message that I think we should be able to send. Can you just take us through what has been the most important improvement in your life? Currently, you're a student, you're a scholar, you are studying to further your achievements. That must have come from, where you come from. There was no opportunities. There was nothing that was given to you to say, these are resources, these are opportunities that are available for you. There was no support structure, yet here you are. I think that will send a strong message to the ones that are listening right now. Just to make a point, can you just take us through?
Mr. Self, can I unpack that into 3 compartments, please, my brother?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The first, I'm going to use as an opportunity to enhance the point I've been trying to make all evening, which is part of why I didn't enjoy success as a musician. I didn't at all, other than the fact that I have a brand that everybody knows, but I enjoyed zero success. I've never made a dime from music in my life. And me, it comes down to this buzzword I've been throwing all night, which is support. There's nothing as important as support, which is why I'm such a massive believer in support. If we want anyone to thrive, anyone to blossom, if we want a generation to do, if you want to connect with somebody, let's show each other support, right? That's the first one I want to address. The second one I want to address is, you also have to acknowledge the privilege that you enjoy. So the reason conversations around unemployment are always a little bit tricky to tackle is because we are coming from different playing fields, So I am somebody who had a great education, had an opportunity to study, had parents who were in a position to provide. So I nearly forfeit my right to sit up here and give any kind of self-righteous approach and say, oh, just use your mindset. I enjoy privilege. Understand? So my privilege, I therefore need to pick my words carefully. You understand? So that is also the second part of it. Having said all that, I do think that what we need to do is throw the ladder down. It's easy. It's easy to say, oh, young people are not taking advantage of opportunities. They're not innovating. They're not pioneering. They're not starting gigs jobs. Perhaps information and just sharing of that knowledge is what we need to do. I mean, I would sit in a boardroom. I used to serve on the board of a flight center. I now serve on the board of Sandro. And I meetings, and I realize I'm a minority. I'm the only sort of young person who's come up from the game. Have I done what's in my capacity to throw the ladder back? Do I go to schools and engage with young people about what are the the opportunities that exist out there? What am I doing in my capacity to throw the ladder back? You know what I mean? Because we take this self-righteous approach because we've kind of broken out of the struggle in some way, shape, or form, and we claim that we have done it. We can now stick our nose up at everybody else for not innovating. When the truth is, they don't have the same resources. They don't start from the same starting block as you. They don't have the same structure, opportunities, support system that we perhaps enjoy. And maybe I should speak for myself. So I say the onus is on us to throw the ladder back, and sometimes it's as simple as just sharing information, just letting somebody know where the opportunity may lie, and then give them the opportunity to take advantage of it or not.
Yes. Powerful. It simply means that information is power. Information is able to open doors.
We must share it, because if you hog it and it dies with you, then you have absolutely defeated the purpose. So share
this is where we're suffering. You both have said the same thing. You have shown that different demographics, there are those who are privileged. And I like how ProVerb has put it, that we're not trying to ride on a high horse to say that we have overcome barriers. You had support. And now this person comes from this kind of background, and the other person doesn't come from that background. There's one common denominator here. There is not enough information that has been disseminated. Two, there are not enough mentors raising leaders. We are in I'm so lucky personally from my side to say the people that I've invited, I've put this message through. We may not argue that we lack resources in this country, but we lack leadership. Could be leadership from a home set up, church, wherever you go, but leaders, those who have built empires, who have built something, are not sharing to bridge the gap in between. Sis P, please tell us what opportunities are there to be able to say we are curbing this support. Are there opportunities for either unemployment or some form of mindset? We could say, youth, you're young, take this direction. There's something there for you.
So I think it's two ways. There's opportunities that are set up, and there's also opportunities you can create for yourself. I often say to people, if you are...
Hold on. Say that again.
I said that there's opportunities that are set up that you can, enter into, or otherwise you can set up opportunities for yourself. With regards to yourself, I always say to people, because they're asking, no, if I'm unemployed, what must I do? I'm like, go to your nearest creche, the creche down the road. Wake up in the morning like you're going to your job, and go volunteer there. It's not always about making money. It's about keeping engaged and keeping moving. Because by you being there, you are activating your mind. Your mind starts thinking about solutions. It starts thinking about things that you would not have thought of had you been just sitting at home. Because remember, the more you are active, so as you are moving, there's certain things that you are also picking up along the way. You're moving, you're picking up things along the way. Find things that can keep you engaged, even if it might not pay you. Find things that may keep you engaged. On the other hand, there's a lot of opportunities that are available. I think the problem is, one of the issues is that a lot of them are centered around Gauteng, which means people who are sitting in other provinces don't necessarily always get access to them. But I think the government is trying in some senses. And we've got the what's it called? The youth employment scheme, which is what they call the YES program. Where it was set up by our president, where it's basically a matter of youth getting into, it's a scheme where youth can get into employment for about a year. It's basically contracted between a vehicle that then gets these kids into employment, and then the employers get some form of rebate for hosting these students. But it's giving them that experience that sometimes lacks when we're looking at people's CVs. I think the only downside with that is that the full-time employment is not always guaranteed, but I think they do try to give a little bit of benefit for employers to actually absorb people into their organizations at the end of the program. So you have those sort of initiatives that are out there. There's also that type of 500,000. That's another opportunity. We've got organizations like Harambe that are doing work. For people that are trying to study, you've got organizations like your Study Trust. They basically offer bursaries for anything. They don't differentiate whether you're going to a technical college or you're going to a big university. They pay for studies based on people's needs. You've got your CareerWise that also does the same kind of job. The organization I worked for is called the Rural Access Program. So they specifically focus on students that are coming from rural backgrounds that are now coming into the university system, because obviously there is a transition that they need to go through. So they provide financial as well as psychosocial support.
All right.
There's a lot. If I had to sit here and actually mention every single one, we'd be here all day. But
with you specifically, is there a program? Is there something that we could refer people through to you to say, here are opportunities, or these are the programs that you have they can take advantage of?
So I mentioned Gobelo Teta earlier on, which is one of our initiatives. We've just started something with a couple of colleagues of mine. It's called Ngedela X, and Ngedela means growth in Zonga. What we are basically trying to gear towards is to provide that space and access for people, but we're still coming up with solutions on that front. But there is somebody else who we're going to have as a guest. Two people actually, whom we're going to have as guests on our show on Saturday. One of them, her name is Nozuko Zamo. She's started an organization called Ukiyo, and Ukiyo is basically the aim or the objective is to make sure that people are a little bit more employable. People are getting into these, into all these different parts and areas that they otherwise would not have. And they've just launched an app called GSSP. I need to remember, it's called the Graduate Support. I forgot the full name.
Now with that, I know a few people that will be interested in that. So I think we should leave details of all these things that you're interacting with, so that even people watching right now will be able to get information on that. I'm sure they will be able to benefit out of it. We have almost come to the end of this episode. Any last words, ProVerb, anything that you feel, you know what, I would like to leave the young people of this current culture with? Please share, so that every time that they watch, they will be able to be reminded that this was spoken and it is a seed that was planted in my life, and they will carry that for the rest of their lives. Please share.
Mr. Selv, I think my parting words will be overly simplified, and to say we are together. It's our struggle. It is our fight. It will in the end be our victory. It is not us, there's you fighting towards an enemy. It is the both of us. It is the multiple generations, all in the interest of one common solution. So for as long as we think of each other as being together, as being as one together, we can find solutions. I also, if I may, man, just wanted to expand on what CC was saying. I'm all for big movements and initiatives and CSI exercises and major companies doing philanthropic work. I'm all for that, but I also feel like as individuals, the impact and the reach that we can sort of access is so much more. If in your own capacity, Pastor Self, even if you mentor, guide one or two young people coming behind you, we can reach so much more, because these initiatives, they work in silos. Often they are in the big cities, and it becomes a question of access. Whereas if all of us make it our problem, and we all take personal responsibility to say, in my lifetime, I'm going to make it my mission to empower, even if it's one person. If we all did that, man, the spread of it will be like wildfire. It will be, it will just continue to expand. I promise you, we can turn everything around. That'll be my
Thank you so much.
My last word.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think you are sparking something that is already beginning. Not to be too technical about it, but there are individuals. Even this past Saturday, I was somewhere in Social Movie, and I was with Eugene. Mtetwa, and he embodies what you just said. I embody with what you just said. Dr. Thabiso Mokhano embodies what you just said. We are faceless leaders. Ms. P embodies what you just said. We are faceless leaders. We are behind the scenes. There are people that we are affecting. I just want to say to both of you, continue until such time that we even meet in the marketplace and we put our resources together and we say, if we are together, here are the people that are supposed to benefit from us. And because we are these kind of leaders, this is the time for us to rise. This is the time for us to truly impact without being apologetic, without looking back and say, if it doesn't happen, if no one does it, who will? It is us. So I thank you so much. And I'm sure that you at home, you have taken so much from this. I would like to extend a word of gratitude to say, wow, we would meet again and tackle certain things where we see and we will measure progress to say, you know what, with our engagements, this is the kind of interaction we've had. These are the programs that we have directed the young people to. And I will give feedback to you to say, wow, they are coming back with testimonies to say, thank you, that what we have touched on today and in future engagements, which I hope will happen, we are making a difference. So thank you so much for joining us. Ms. P, I will make sure that I get information about programs that you're running, and then we will put it on here, this Thabiso Mokhano ministry page. I would like to give a door to our guests, and would like to just share a few announcements after you just bow out.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you
so much.
Enjoyed interacting with you, Sis P. Success is measured by
you too.
You. All right. Good night,
Amen.
guys.
Amen.
Good night,
Amen.
everyone. Thanks.
Wow. There you have it. There you have it. It has been such a powerful engagement. Look, this is what Kingdom Drive is all about. We try by all means to be able to stretch young people, to even stretch leaders in all spheres of life. And we hope that you have enjoyed. We hope that you continue to spread the word about Kingdom Drive. Make sure that you never miss out. Every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, share this page with other people. Whatever that we put together, it has been well thought. Questions have been well researched so that answers that come out from these questions and these talks are able to make an impact in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure that you tune in for the next episode and you are on the lookout for information we pass out on this one. We will be passing information for Ms. P, who has opportunities for young people. Keep your eyes on this page, Thabiso Mokhano Ministries, so that you will be able to come back to us and tell us how we have made a difference in your life. And we hope that God continues to bless you. Until next time, thank you so much.
Could it be that your scars are your cars to your destiny? Well, the vicissitudes of life can indelibly scar one's life in a very problematic way. It is the proclivities of these scars that are perpetually disadvantaging us in how we interact with life. Apostle Thabiso Mokhano has been endowed with a particular grace to navigate us through such. And in his latest offering, a trailblazing book entitled Tattoos Are Still There, he extrapolates swiftly how we can successfully live an extraordinary life even after a horrific experience. It is indeed with certainty that your interaction with this material will not only be therapeutic but also transformational. Tattoos Are Still There is scholarly, psychological, sociological, and biblically sound to impact anyone's life. Through God's grace, Apostle Thabiso Mokhano has learned to navigate life journey and make peace with his own tattoos because clearly God's grace is towering above them. May you have a great life even after this page turner. Tattoos are still there.